Pediatric Dentist channel Tiny Teeth Talks. If you are new to this channel, subscribe the channel, and for details of this channel visit the bio section, or you can also check out my first video. Sorry if there is any mistakes in videos or shorts. Today we will discuss the most important theory question for both undergrads and masters, the functional matrix theory and other theories. Functional matrix theory proposed by Melvin Mosh in 1962. This theory posits that bone growth is a secondary response to the functional needs of surrounding soft tissues. According to this theory, bones do not grow independently but are grown as a result of the demands placed on them by muscles, connective tissues, and other soft tissues. Functional matrix consists of the teeth, organ, gland, muscles, nerves, and vessels, as well as non-skeletal cartilages. It is divided into the periosteal matrix and the capsular matrix. What is periosteal matrix means? Periosteal matrix are the soft tissue structures such as the periosteum and muscles that directly surround bones and influence their growth and remodeling. Periosteal matrix act directly and actively upon the related skeletal units, producing a secondary compensatory transformation. So they act directly and actively by exerting mechanical force directly on the bone surfaces. These forces can be due to the muscle contraction, tensions from the ligaments, or other functional demands placed on the bone. The secondary compensatory transformations means when a bone is subjected to mechanical loads or stress, the periosteal matrix induce changes in bone growth and remodeling to compensate for these forces. These processes ensure that the bone structure remains strong and functional even as it adapts to varying mechanical demands. For example, consider the mandible during growth. The periosteal matrices, which include the muscles attached to the mandible, exert forces on the bone during activities such as the chewing and speaking. These forces stimulate bone remodeling, leading to changes in the shape and size of the mandible to accommodate the functional demands. We already saw bone remodeling theory in previous video. Coming to the capsular matrix, neurocranial capsules and orofacial capsules include in the capsular matrix. So neurocranial capsules sandwiched between skin and durameter act indirectly and passively upon the related skeletal units, producing a secondary compensatory translation. Neurocranial capsules is the soft tissue structure that envelopes the brain. It's sandwiched between skin, which is scalp, and the durameter, which is the outermost layer of the meninges surrounding the brain. They influence the growth of the cranial bones indirectly and passively. How? So as the brain grows and expands, it exerts the pressures on the neurocranial capsule. In response, the cranial bones undergo secondary changes to accommodate the expanding brain. This process ensures that the skull maintains its protective and functional integrity as it grows. For example, during childhood, the brain grows rapidly, leading to the increased pressure on the neurocranial capsule. This pressure translates into the mechanical forces that stimulate the cranial bones to grow and expand. The skull bones respond by remodeling and growing to accommodate the brain's increasing size. Coming to the orofacial capsule, which surround and protect oronasopharyngeal space. So orofacial capsules which surrounds and protect oronasopharyngeal space, which include the oral cavity, nasal cavity, and pharynx. These capsules play a crucial role in the facial growth and development. As the oronasopharyngeal space expands, they exert pressures on the surrounding orofacial capsule. This pressure translates into the mechanical forces that stimulate the growth and remodeling of the facial bones. The bones adapt to these forces by growing and changing shape to maintain the functional integrity of the oronasopharyngeal space. For example, consider child's face during growth. As the nasal and oral cavities expand to accommodate increased breathing and eating functions, the surrounding orofacial capsules responds by stimulating the facial bones to grow and remodel. This process ensures that the facial skeleton develops in harmony with the functional needs of the oronasopharyngeal space. The volumetric growth of this space is the primary morphogenic event in the facial growth. Coming to the skeletal unit, skeletal unit may be comprised of the bone, cartilage, or tendon, and all the skeleton tissues are referred to a specific functional matrix, that is, all skeletal tissues are associated with a single function. They contain microskeletal unit and macroskeletal unit. Bone consisting of number of small skeletal units. When a combination of several bones make up this unit, it is called the microskeletal unit, like mandible. And when there is a contribution of parts of many adjacent bones, such as a unit, is called the macroskeletal unit, like maxilla. So the functional matrix theory focuses primarily on the role of soft tissues, which may not fully account for the complexity of craniofacial development. In hydrocephalic patients, the size of brain is small but the cranial vault is bigger. So something is off and there is a functional matrix hypothesis revisited, added. So the functional Functional Matrix Hypothesis Revisited is a series of articles by Melvin L. Mosh that revisits and expands upon his original functional matrix hypothesis. So, why it is called revisited? Because the term revisited indicates that Moss has re-evaluated, updated his original hypothesis based on new scientific findings and advancement in the understanding of mechanotransduction and genetic epigenetic interactions. So, in revisiting hypothesis, Moss incorporates recent understanding of mechanotransduction and the interplay between the genetic and epigenetic factors. The revised hypothesis suggests that both genetic and epigenetic influences are necessary for craniofacial development. So first we have to understand the mechanotransduction. So mechanotransduction is the process by which cell convert mechanical stimuli into electrochemical activity. How it converts? So mechanical stimuli is the mechanical signals which a cell receives, such as a pressure, stretch, etc. These signals are detected by mechanically gated ion channel which open in response to mechanical force. So first mechanical force applied, they open the mechanically gated ion channel which detect the mechanical stimuli, allow flow and creating electrochemical signals, trigger the various cellular responses including changes in the cell shape, gene expression and protein synthesis. So in the context of functional matrix hypothesis revisited, mechanotransduction explain how mechanical force from the surrounding soft tissue influences bone cells, and these mechanical signals are transmitted through the cellular networks leading to changes in the gene expression and bone formation. For example, mandibular growth. As a child chews food, the masticatory muscle exerts forces on the mandible and the mechanical forces are transmitted to the bone cells within the mandible through the surrounding periosteal matrix. These bone cells through the mechanotransduction convert this mechanical stimuli into the electrochemical signals. These signals then influence the expression of the genes related to the bone growth and remodeling. Moss proposed that the both genetic and epigenetic influences are necessary for proper craniofacial growth and neither alone is sufficient. So there is a genetic and epigenetic interaction. So what is genetics? Genetics involve the study of heritable traits encoded in DNA. Genetic variations such as a single nucleotide polymorphisms and copy number variations contribute to individual differences in traits and susceptibility to disease. Epigenetics refers to changes in the gene expression that do not involve alteration to the DNA sequence itself. These changes can be influenced by environmental factors such as diet, stress, and exposure of toxins. So these genetic and epigenetic interactions refer to the complex interplay between an individual's genetic code, epigenetic modifications which can influence the gene expression and phenotype traits. Most revised hypotheses emphasize that both genetic and epigenetic factors are necessary for proper craniofacial development. Genetic modifications can be influenced by environmental factors such as mechanical forces and can have a long-lasting effect on gene expression and phenotypic traits. For example, the child's genetic makeup determines the potential for the mandibular growth and responsiveness of bone cells to mechanical stimuli. Environmental factors such as diet and muscle activity can lead to the epigenetic modifications. For example, increased mechanical loading from chewing can result in the epigenetic changes that enhance bone formation. This combined effect of genetic predisposition and epigenetic modification guide the adaptive growth of the mandible in response to functional demands. The mechanical stimuli from soft tissues are converted into electrochemical signals through mechanotransduction, which then influences gene expression and bone formation. This process highlights the importance of both genetic and epigenetic factors in response to functional demands and guiding craniofacial development. Coming to the neurotrophism. So neurotrophism refers to the influence of neurotrophic factors, which are proteins that promote the survival, development and functions of the neurons or skeletal growth. So what are the neurotrophic factors? So these factors such as the nerve growth factors and the brain derived neurotrophic factors are released by the neurons and target cells in the craniofacial region that can affect the development and function of muscles, connective tissue and other soft tissue and create changes in the growth and functions of the soft tissues, can in turn influence bone growth and remodeling. So in context of craniofacial growth, neurotrophism suggests that nervous control can indirectly affect bone growth by influencing the growth and function of surrounding soft tissue. There are three types of neurotrophism: neuroepithelial trophism, neurovisceral trophism and neuromuscular trophism. First, trophism refers to the process of growth or nourishment in the biological system, and it is derived from the Greek word troph, which means the nourishment. In neuroepithelial trophism, epithelial mitosis and synthesis is neurotropically controlled, means the process of cell division and production in epithelial tissues controlled by nerve derived substance. Normal epithelial growth is controlled by release of neurotrophic substance from nerve synapses, means the normal growth of the epithelial tissue is regulated by the substance released from the nerve endings. Presence of taste bud is dependent on intact innervation, means the presence and maintenance of the taste buds depends on having intact nerve connection. Then neurovisceral trophism include the salivary glands, fat tissues are partially trophically regulated, means the growth and functions of the salivary gland and fat tissues are partially controlled by the nerve derived substance. And neuromuscular trophism, innervation is required at the myoblast stage of the differentiation, means the for muscles to develop properly, nerve connections needs to be established during the early stage of muscle cell development. So basically neuroepithelial trophism, in which the nerve control the growth and maintenance of the epithelial tissue and taste buds. In neurovisceral trophism, nerves help regulate the growth of salivary glands and the fat tissue. In neuromuscular trophism, nerves are necessary for proper muscle development from an early stage. Then the Enlow's expanding V principle. Enlow's expanding V principle describe how bones with the V-shaped configuration grows through a process of bone deposition on the inner surfaces and bone resorption on the outer surfaces. This coordinated process result in the expansion and remodeling of the bone. Then there is an Enlow's counter principle. This principle states that the growth of any facial cranial part relates specifically to other structural and geometric counterparts in the face and cranium, means the changes in one part of the face or the skull will influence and be influenced by changes in its corresponding counterpart to maintain a balance and the functional equilibrium. So here are some body parts and their geometric counterparts. So nasomaxillary complex, anterior cranial fossa; maxillary arch, mandibular arch; bony maxilla, corpus of mandible; maxillary tuberosity, lingual tuberosity. These are the references. Stay tuned for the next part, which include the prenatal and postnatal development of maxilla and mandible. If you want this PDF or any other PDF, just like, subscribe and comment your mail ID with the topic and I'll send you the PDF. New videos on Thursday evening 6 p.m. and Sunday morning 11 a.m. Also, we try to put MCQs according to topics on our shorts with the answers and explanation if needed, which will help you in Viva or NEET exams. Like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you.